Hi friends, if you're new here, my name is Rahul. I'm an independent research analyst. I am a CFA level 2 candidate and I went from being 45 lakh rupees in debt at the age of 22 to retiring by the age of 29. And in this channel, the whole idea is to share whatever I've learned along the way, whatever I'm learning. And hopefully with every video, you will move closer towards your financial freedom. But today specifically, we're going to be discussing how to ridiculously reduce the amount of time it takes to analyze and screen stocks, at least in the initial part of the stock picking process, by using the screener.in powerful feature from screener.in called export to Excel. Now only and only if you have tried to analyze stock after stock after stock will you really realize how crazy this feature is, because my god, the amount of time it takes, the frustration, the confusion, if you don't know how to use this feature, it's like the worst feeling ever. It's almost like if I were to describe the feeling, it's like you wake up in the middle of the night with the worst headache and there's nobody at home, there's no medicine, nothing you can do about it. You just have to kind of go through that pain. And maybe I'm being a little bit dramatic, but that's what it felt like for me at the time. And over the last 8 years, I gave up on this whole stock market investing, thing, financial freedom, like many times, because I just didn't know how to proceed forward. I didn't know how to simplify the process. And last time I actually quit. I just quit like for 2-3 months in 2017. And one day randomly, I don't know how it happened, I don't even remember, was it a friend, how somehow this website called drvijaymalik.com, I found the website and I started reading and I became really fascinated, because the way he was analyzing stocks was he was using this quantitative cookie cutter kind of style to analyze each and every stock where there's only numbers. Now there are advantages, now I know there are many advantages to that, there are some disadvantages we'll discuss at the end of the video, but that was like the aha moment for me, and I was so impressed by what he was doing. There were, at the time, I think there were 280 articles, I still remember, 289, something like that, and I read every single one of those articles, right? So I understand maybe you're not appreciating how amazing and useful this feature is. Maybe I'm being very dramatic, but trust me, this has the potential to change your investing life. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this Excel feature to analyze 7 different stocks right here in front of you to show you how you can use it as well. And towards the end of the video, if you stay with us, I'll also share how you can download this particular Excel format for free. Now lastly, before we move on, I have a simple request. As always, if you find anything interesting about this video, please click on the like button. Please consider subscribing, sharing, all of that. And I want to thank the 375 subscribers of this channel so far for subscribing. With that, let's jump in. Okay, so the way it works is you can actually use the export to Excel feature and download data in a pre-specified format. Now, this pre-specified format is customizable, so you can actually change it according to your needs. But I'm sure many of you are wondering that why is there a need to even do the export to Excel, right? Because all the data anyway, the whole point of a screener is to show you the data. So why do we need to separately then download data and then analyze it? Well, the simple reason is that there are a lot of specific types of ratios that are not available within screener. Maybe because the data providers, screeners pulling the data from themselves are not giving the data, maybe for other reasons, I'm not sure why. But so for example, free cash flow, right? Free cash flow is probably one of the most important parameters that we would look for in a company, and that is not available in screener. So also, if you want to see over a 10-year period how much free cash flow total the company has generated compared to the net profit, compared to the cash flow from operations, which by the way we'll do it, you'll understand why that's important. All of that is not given. Some types of working capital ratios are not given. Forensic ratios, for example, to judge if there are some sort of fraudulent or shady activities happening, that's not given. So by having the raw data, you can actually calculate all of these ratios on your own. I think that's a big value add. So that's the reason why the export to Excel feature is such a big hit, and it's so important. And I'm actually surprised. So my question to you is, while we're going through this, is do you use any other types of screener websites? So I use Tijori Finance, and I've I haven't made a video, but I've tried to explain maybe in one of my past videos why I use that one. But none of the other screener website has this export to Excel feature. I don't know why. But anyway, so the point is, the way you want to go about this is, so once you have the Excel format, you click on choose file, and then you simply find your file and upload it, click upload, and that's it. What I've obviously done is I've already done it, so I'm not going to do it again right now. And next thing you want to do is, and this is where the value add happens by using export to Excel, because it really massively shrinks down the amount of time. So now in the last video, in the part 1, how to use screener, what we did was we figured out how to create screens, right? And in this one, I've used some fairly stringent parameters to create a screen. And here we have about 174 countries. Still, Screener.in allowed us to go from, say, 3,500 stocks, I think Screener can screen from, to 174. But 174 is still a big number. So what do you do from here, right? The only right way, or one of the hardcore ways maybe, if not right, is to actually go each stock, one by one by one. But also, you kind of want to do another layer of screening, because just because these companies have come up doesn't necessarily mean that they are sound, because a lot of times there could be some data discrepancy. Not that the data is not right, but there can be some discrepancy. So what you want to do is you want to add another layer of screening to this 174 and absolutely eliminate the companies that don't fit our criteria. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to be using our format to analyze the first 7 companies on this list. Now these are going to be pretty solid companies. The reason being is because they've been ranked according to the highest ROCE. So these are solid companies, but out of 174, 10, 20, 30, 40 companies, 50 companies, if you can absolutely eliminate, you've got a smaller batch to work with, right? So with that said, let's get started and actually do the analysis. The first company we're looking at is EKI Energy, okay? And this is what the format looks like. Now, before you get too overwhelmed, just relax, calm down. I'm going to explain the key numbers that we're looking for and how we're going to judge. What we're trying to do right now in this stage is we want to eliminate any company that looks even remotely kind of either not meeting our stringent parameters or something wrong with it, okay? And we're going to discuss also what are those stringent parameters to begin with. So to give you an overview, this sheet has been divided into 7 sections, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sections, okay? And we'll do one by one. So the first section is basically the income statement. And in the income statement, the top number, the first number we want to look at is sales growth. And sales growth is very important. This is one of the things that I ignored early on because the impression that we got young value investors, new value investors, is that even though the company is not growing, if it's a great company like a Warren Buffett kind of company, you should buy into it. Now the flaw with that logic is that Warren Buffett can buy the entire company and use the cash, right, to then invest in other businesses. As retail investors, we don't have that luxury. So therefore, for us, for our investment to grow, there needs to be some amount of sales growth. It doesn't have to be 15-20%. Sometimes companies growing even at 12% can give a great return. The reason being is if you have operating leverage. So with time, if operating margins expand and your profit expands relative to the sales, then that can be a great situation. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Sales growth. So last 10 years data is basically what we're looking for. And 4.8% minus 27.4, 159, 182, 233, 189, 843%, right? And if you actually look from the sales, 2, 2, 2, 2, 5, 7, 20, 66, 190 on 1800, and in the last 4 quarters is 21, 2120. So there's something crazy has happened over here where the company has either hit an inflection point something has happened. We don't know that yet, but by looking at the numbers, we can get to know something exciting is happening. Of course, we want to investigate this further in the next step, right? That whether this is a one-off, whether this can be sustainable or not. The second thing we want to look at is operating margins. The reason why, what we want to look for is we want stable, relatively stable operating margins and relatively high. So higher the better, but we also want stability. Now in this case, 7, 17, 19, 20, 11. So we can see that this company has gone through phases where your operating margins have been high and increasing, and then decreasing, and then again there's been a amazing increase. There's a massive expansion of operating profit margin. Okay, so again, interesting. The third thing we want to look at is net profit. Of course, profit has also increased, but more importantly, net profit margin. Okay, 3, 6, 6, 6, 6, 4, 4, 3, 7, 10, 21, 22. So again, net profit margin has also expanded, right? So something interesting over here, no big red flags, at least as of now, on which we can actually eliminate the company straight away. So now the next thing we want to do is, if you add up the last 10 years or however much data we have on the company, you get 408 crores of total net profit. You want to compare that with cash flow from operations. Now, this is a very important point. Cash flow from operations, in most cases, almost all the cases, has to be more than the net profit. The reason why is because of depreciation. So depreciation is a non-cash charge, meaning depreciation has been charged. It's been shown as an expense that reduces the profit, but actually cash has not gone towards depreciation as such, and that's why when we look at cash flow from operations should usually be more than the net profit by the amount of depreciation that has been charged. Now again, this is a little bit of accounting, but yeah, I'm just giving you an overview. We can go into a lot of depth. This is an entire discussion on its own. So basically what you want is cash flow from operations needs to be more than the net profit after tax, right? Which it isn't. This kind of tells me, okay, the company is showing profits but no cash is coming in. Not only is it, this is ridiculously low, 408 of total and only 53, maybe 90. So March 2020 में 5 net profit था and you get cash 6, so this seems fine. 21 में 19 and then you get 16. Okay, not that big of difference. This is where the big difference is. Now, this is a question that I need to solve in the next part of my research, where I can actually look into the annual report and everything, because in my mind I'm thinking, okay, net profit is 383 crores. Why is there no cash? Why is the company not receiving? It could be that most of this revenue came towards the end of the financial year, so while they've booked the income, they haven't really received the cash or something. We need to find out more about this, but this is not a great sign, to be very honest. Then you reduce cash flow, you deduct capex, right? Capex is basically what you need to do to keep the business functioning, and you need to invest in maybe a plant depending on the type of business model. So you reduce that and you get free cash flow, which is 38, right? Again, there's a huge mismatch, and there seems to be a problem in, I would say, the number 2 box. And this is a big problem because, we need cash. Where's the cash, right? It's not there. So that's another thing. Then you have look at debt to equity. Not that important for us right now, but I think there's a huge red flag over here, at least in this, at least for this company, right? Another important metric is free cash flow to CFO. The higher the better. It means that for every 100 rupees of free cash flow the company is generating, for every 100 rupees of cash flow from operations the company has, how much free cash flow does it have, right? So 73%, yeah, but this is not a true reflection, so I would kind of mark this as a red for now. Okay, so this is where the operating efficiency of the company comes in, okay? And by the way, in the first case in EKI Energy, this is going to take a little bit longer because I'm also broadly explaining what these numbers mean. When we move on to the other examples, it's going to be a lot quicker because hopefully you'll have some idea. Okay. Profit before tax divided by average net fixed assets. What this tells us is that if I have a plant that I've put in, that I've invested 100 rupees, how much profit after tax am I earning for that invested capital? Now, to understand this, what you need to do is you need to compare this with, let's say you put 100 rupees in an FD. So the minimum benchmark is, if a company is not able to earn a PBT by net fixed assets of, say 7%, it should probably sell everything and put all that money in a bank and it'll be able to earn more, right? So that's the interpretation over here. In this case, company is doing pretty well, 32,708. So again, there's a huge spike. We want to know whether this is sustainable, this is one-off, why it happened. All of those questions happen in the next stage. ROE again is, except this year, in March 2016, all the other times ROE has been great. Return on capital employed. So ROE is how much net profit you're earning on the equity. Equity is basically how much owners have put in the money. And ROCE, return on capital employed, is basically the operating profit. Again, I don't want to make it too complicated, but operating profit divided by the capital employed. Now, capital employed in this case is going to be, not in this case, in all cases, is going to be your equity, the owners, how much money they've put in, plus the debt, and plus working capital, right? So these are three things. Again, looks pretty good. Okay, number 5. So number 4 looks good, no big red flags over here. Number 5, we have basically working capital metrics, right? And also a bit more of operating. So what do you want? Net fixed asset turnover. So what you want is, you want this to be as high as possible. And this number that you're saying, usually companies can have 5 to 8 and all that. This is great. The reason why this is great is, think about it like this. Now, this number is sales divided by the next net fixed assets. So for every 100 rupees of assets, fixed assets I have, like how much sales I'm able to generate, right? So if I have 100 rupees, this company in 2017 was generating sales of 540 rupees, right? This is a very abnormally high number. Usually you'll find companies around 5, 2, 3, whatever. And but yeah, this is abnormally high. So again, you want to investigate that. Receivable days, I'm going to leave that out for now. Keep things simple. Net fixed assets, again, 1 crore, 1 crore, 4 crore. So yeah, you kind of begin to wonder, on a fixed asset of 9 crore, how is the company generating 1800 crores? And by looking at this, my guess is that this company is probably either into some sort of consultancy, which doesn't require a lot of fixed assets. Not a manufacturing company for sure. This is simply not possible for a manufacturing kind of company. So it's some sort of consultancy, some sort of software company, or something of that nature that doesn't require a lot of assets, right? But again, I want to know what the business model is. Dividend paid, whatever. We would like the dividend to be paid. In the last 2 years it has done, but it doesn't really have a long history. Dividend paid usually consistently tells us that the company's owners are willing to share the profits with the shareholders. Then you have retained earnings. So retained earnings is basically how much you've reinvested into the business. So retained earnings is profit after tax minus the dividends, right? Because dividends is what you pay out. So the company total over the last 10 years, especially the last 4 years, is 394 crores of earnings have been retained, and the market capitalization over the same time has grown from whatever it was to 3400. So what this tells us is that Warren Buffett again talks about a very important metric, that for every the way you want to judge a CEO's performance is that for every 1 rupee of earnings that the company holds back, how much value it is creating in terms of market value. In this case, if for every 1 rupee the company retains, it is able to generate at least 1 rupee, at least 1 rupee of market cap. I mean, that's considered to be a basic, very minimal benchmark. In this case, this company has done around, I would say 7, 8 times. So that's pretty good. Again, contingent on the fact, where is this cash, right? Because as we discussed, the cash is not showing up. And number 8 is pretty much, I think we're going to let that go as well. So again, with this company, I'm curious to know more. There are red flags. So I'm not going to eliminate it straight away because there's some interesting things happening. But yeah, so in this case, I'm not going to eliminate, but you know, this is what we learned. So we're going to move on to the next company, K-Solves India now. Again, I don't know what these companies do. I'm just taking it from I've taken these companies from the screen that we've created, and we're just going to go. Now, we've kind of understood what the numbers mean broadly, and I know the first one I think must have taken around 10-11 minutes. This should be much quicker. Okay, so first thing we're going to look at is sales growth. Okay, 2017 onwards data is available. 2016, before that, not much data. 1.2, 101, 59, 50. So sales growth is pretty impressive. From around 2 crore in 2016, it has gone to 45. Great. This is last four quarters, by the way. So let's keep that on the side. Next thing we want to look at is operating margins. So we want operating margins to be stable and or increasing ideally. So 4, 6, 13, 45, 42. So yeah, there's been a big expansion in operating margins. Interesting. Next thing I want to look at is net profit after tax. So 0. So this is not 0, but if you actually add more decimal places, it's going to be some, small number. So net profit margins is 8, 1, 2, 3, 8, 33, 34. So again, an expansion in net profit as well, right? Okay. Next thing we want to see, okay, total of net profit over the last however many years data is available, 24 crores. We compare that with CFO. We need CFO to be more. Again, I'm going to add a red flag. Cash is very important. This is where all the shady companies get caught. You have CFO of 15, net profit of 24. Where's the cash, right? Again, depending on how harsh you want to be, you can either eliminate, because I think with a list of 174 companies, if the company is just not having the cash, just put it aside. Next thing you want to know is capex is 2, so you have free cash flow of 14. Then you check for free cash flow to CFO. Again, it's pretty high, but the question remains that where is the cash? So if there was more cash, the free cash flow number would have been even higher, which is great. But again, this is a critical point, and we don't have the answer for it yet, and that's a big red flag. Total equity, fine, increasing. There's no debt, which is great. Share capital, forget it for now. Profit before tax by average net fixed assets. Again, like we said, for every 100 rupees of fixed assets, how much profit after tax can the company generate? This can be compared with a bank FD, right? That's the minimum basic benchmark. In this case, it's pretty impressive as far as the numbers go. Return on equity is great. Return on capital employed is pretty phenomenal. So all of that is great. Again, all of these numbers come from the income statement, not from the cash flow statement. So if there's no cash, then all of these numbers can be considered a little bit questionable. Next, net fixed asset turnover. So how much for every net 100 rupees on net fixed assets, how much sales a company can generate? 31, 16. Again, this is ridiculously high. Again, this tells me this company has some sort of asset light model, which definitely doesn't look like a manufacturing kind of business, because you don't have these kind of numbers for manufacturing businesses. Net fixed assets, forget it, we're going to ignore. We're going to look at retained earnings, total 11, and the market value, market capitalization that has been, so this is the latest market cap, and it's for rupees 11 crore retained. The company has been able to create a market value of 526, which is phenomenal, right? again, yeah, I am pretty doubtful for this company. So again, like I said, depending on how stringent you want to be, you can either eliminate it or keep it. But with 174 companies, you got to be strict with this one. So for me, for those reasons, this company is out. Okay, the third company on our list is Page Industries. Page is going to be a very, very interesting read. So let's look at sales growth first of all. I'm going to hide this gross profit margin just because not important as of now. Sales growth 35%, 30%, 16%, 18, 19, 11, 3. Ooh, okay. So first half of the decade it was actually increasing pretty rapidly, and then there was a slump in the sales growth, and then again sales growth has come back. So maybe Page 2.0, who knows. Sales operating profit margin, we want it to be stable and high. So look at this, right? This is an example of a great company. 21, 22, 21, 29, 19, 21, 22, 18, 19, 20. Look at the stability of the operating profit margins versus the first two companies we've seen, right? So very, very stable. Next we want to look at net profit margin, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 14, 14, 12, 12, 14, right? So very, very consistent. In the last 4 quarters, there's been an uptick. Now, if you look at the total net profit over the last 10 years, 2,900 crores roughly. And if you look at the CFO now, you look at that, 3,040 crores. So it's slightly more than the net profit, right? Which is kind of what we want to see. You reduce the capex. Capex is what the company does to maintain the existing factories in their current conditions, and also invest in, whether it's greenfield or whether it's brownfield kind of capex to expand, so that they can, expand the business and increase sales and increase profits, all of that. So that's what capex is. You have free cash flow of 23, and free cash flow to CFO is 78, which is phenomenal. Debt to equity is close to nothing. It's been paying dividend consistently over the last many years. Profit before tax divided by net fixed assets is again very impressive. ROE is again very good. Return on capital employed is great. Net fixed asset turnover, so sales divided by net fixed assets. So look at that, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 10, 9. What you'll notice is when in periods where the capacity utilization, so if the factories are operating at maximum capacities, you're going to see this number expand, and then usually after the number hits a little bit of high, there is a decrease because the company decides to then expand and add more net fixed assets, right? Put another plant or whatever. And because those plants for at least the initial 1 year or 2 years or whatever are not going to, create sales as such. So what happens is your net fixed assets expands, but your sales is not growing as much. So usually you'll see a number decrease for 1-2 years. So all that is good. Net fixed assets. Okay, so you see how 10.59 March 2019 it reached a high. That was also the year that the company decided to invest probably the most amount of money in the last, barring this, 384 crores, right? So that happened. Dividend payout is 50%, so paying out a huge percentage of its earnings in the form of dividends. Total retained earnings is 1115, and market capitalization has increased from over the last 10 years from 3,700 to 48,000 crores. So nearly 41 times. So that's ridiculous. So yeah, this is a company you want to keep, but bear in mind that a company like Page Industries is never going to be available at, especially in a normal market or a bull market. I wouldn't call this a bull market necessarily, but yeah, things are not necessarily very depressing as far as the markets go. So in these kind of conditions, you won't get these companies at a very, even 20, 25, 30 kind of P ratios. So that's not going to happen. All right, so next company is Stanfac. Never heard of this company. Let's follow our process once again. So hydro sales. 19, 2.3, 11, 28, 37. So again, very kind of variable sales growth. Increase from 146 to 340, so barely even to double in the last 7-8 years. Barely bank rate kind of, 7-8% kind of return, not return but growth in sales. Operating profit margin, you have 1, 10, 7, massive variation from 1 to 10 to 7 to 11, 13, 24, 16. So yeah, a lot of variation. Net profit after tax, if you add, from whatever, minus 11 to 53, not bad. March 16 onwards, they've done really well if you look at it from here. So yeah, total 117 crores. Net profit margin is again very up and down, 3, 6, 16, 10, 12, 17. Well, last 2-3 years it's nice, it's expanding, which is great. If you can find it, if you can get this company, all else being great, at a point where profit margins are expanding, it can be a great investment. 117, okay, see, there you go, 117 of total net profit after tax over the last 10 years, and CFO is 245. Okay, awesome. Capex is 41, so free cash flow 204 crores, and this makes free cash flow to CFO at 83, so which is great. So there's, as far as the cash situation is concerned, Tanfac is doing great. Debt to equity, wow, 9 times, 12 times. So yeah, again, debt to equity has also increased in the last 2-3 years. Great, awesome. Profit before tax divided by average net fixed assets. Again, until 2016-17, they were maybe trying to figure things out, and then since then it's been doing pretty well. Same with ROE as well, and same with ROCE. Net fixed asset turnover increased, and then they probably invested, and then again, so 8 times. Very nice. We'll leave all of that out for now. Net fixed assets. So there you go. So they've been investing pretty regularly. Oh no, sorry, this is not investment, this is net fixed assets. Okay, capital work in progress is what you want to look for if you're looking for, if there's more investment. So yeah, no, nothing especially surprising. Retained earnings over the last 10 years is 108 crores, and market capitalization has increased by 953 crores, so about 9 times, right? Which is great. So we keep Tanfac. The next company would be Gujarat Themis Biosyn. Alright, so let's follow the process with this company as well. Similarly, again, let's hide this, hydro. Okay, sales growth 6.4, 3.8, 9.4, 8.7, nothing impressive. Last 2-3 years has been interesting. March 2020, 21, 22. So that's something interesting has happened over there. Over the last 10 years, sales has increased from 28 crores to 115. Reasonably good, not bad, not anything spectacular. It's around 4-5 times, which is around 14-15%, which is not bad. Operating profit margin, we want it to be high and or stable. 11, 21, 21, 19, 17, 16, 18, 37, 45. Okay, again, so from 11 there seems to be a big jump, and that was kind of sustainable. Double digits, high double digits, not bad. And then again, there's been a big expansion. We want to know why that happened for sure. Net profit tax increased from 1 crore to 44 crore, 44 times. Crazy. Excuse me. Total net profit after tax over the last 10 years is 127 crores. And if you look at net profit margins for, again, 15, 15, 14, 12, 10, 16, 28, 33, 38. So last 4 years, big expansion, and the color coding kind of also tells you if it's increasing or decreasing. So now the ultimate litmus test for free cash flow, 127 crores of total net profit over the last 10 years. Compare that to CFO. Where's the cash? Right, and that is a big problem. So 21, they showed say the profits of 30 crores, but there was no cash received for that amount. And then again 44 and 40, so big difference. 120, 72. Capex is 33, so they're able to manage their capex from within the cash flow. operations. Free cash flow divided by CFO 55%, which is great, but again, this is a red flag for us. Debt to equity has been decreasing, which is great. Efficiency ratios great. PBT by average net fixed assets, ROE, average equity, not bad. Great. ROC, all of that is great. But again, where's the cash? Net fixed asset turnover is pretty decent, 5.98. Inventory turnover, so sales divided by how much inventory the company has to keep. So the higher in the inventory turnover, the better, because it means that at any given point of time, relative to the sales, the company has to maintain a low level of inventory. And inventory, obviously, to keep inventory takes money, right? So that frees up working capital if you can reduce or increase your inventory turnover and have lesser inventory available. So that's a good thing. Net fixed assets has grown from 12 to 19 only, and you can tell sales growth hasn't been that great. Dividend payout, barely paid dividends over the last few years, but paid some dividend in 2020 and 22. If you look at retained earning, the total retained earnings is 109 crores, and if you look at the market capitalization, it's gone up by 11,127, so around 10 times. Also bear in mind, by the way, the base year is a very important comparison point, because March 2013 as a year was, I believe it was the election year. 2014 was the election, and 2013 was it was a very bad period for markets. So markets were especially depressed. From that base, if you compare, it's still pretty even, but still, even if this 12 was 50, even that, a 10 times increase in market cap over the last 10 years is phenomenal, right? Again, the big question is where the cash. So depending how stringent you want to be, how big your list is, how small it is, how curious you are, either you can eliminate it and say, hey, look, I'm not going to entertain these kind of companies, or you can keep them and investigate further, right? Which is going to take time. So you have to decide what works for you. The next one is Supreme. Again, I'm going to hide the gross profit margin. Okay, sales growth 10%, 18, minus 18, minus 22. Again, green is a positive, 1658. Okay, kind of up and down. Petrochem, that gives it away, probably a cyclical business. Operating profit margin is 5, 3, 4, 4, 10, huge. Okay, huge increase, decrease, increase. So yeah, very, very cyclical characteristics. Net profit margin increased from 73 to 663 in this upcycle. But you can see why this is a cyclical business, because from 73 it can go down to 31, like less than half, then it increases. Then again it can go from 179 to 49. So these are the companies you want to be really careful, because if you look at them at these peak times, 2013, 2017, 2022, and if you buy these optically, the PE ratio is going to be looking very low. So Supreme Petro 11 times, and you think, oh my god, this is a value stock, what Warren Buffett tells you to buy, and you end up making a mistake. So yeah, be careful about that. Total net profit after tax over the last 10 years, 1784 crores, and CFO is again higher by around 200-300 crores, by 2000 crore. Great. The cash flow problem is not there. Capex is 371 crores, which leaves a free cash flow of 1648. So free cash flow divided by CFO 82%, fantastic, right? Great. So debt to equity, no debt to equity, none of that problem. PBT is great. ROE is looking great. ROC is looking great. Again, cyclical characteristics are there. Net fixed assets, higher the better. Inventory turnover is also great. So inventory, also notice that 2013 at a peak, 2017 at a peak, and 2022 at a peak. And the reason for that is because when the business environment is good, capacity utilization high, which means that relative to the inventory and relative to the net fixed assets you have, your sales are going to be much higher, right? So that's good. Net fixed assets increased from 366 to 337. So actually there was no increase in net fixed assets. So how have they increased their sales? That's interesting. 3,000 to 5,000. Not a big jump in sales, but yeah, this is interesting. Okay. Retained earnings, if you look over 1246 and if you compare from the base of 2013, the market cap has gone up by 73. And by the way, this is a great example of a cyclical. So 545 crores, 874, 806, 1054. So cyclicals, if you find at the right time and you get in, you can make a good amount of money. So around 2 times in 3 years. This is what, like 6 times in 3 years, 4 years. Yeah. So this is great if you can ride this cycle, but then it goes. So look at how from 3,100 crores it goes down to 1,255, and then again it's increased. So you need to basically get into these kinds of companies at the right time, right? So yeah, petrochem, cyclical play. Depending on whether you're interested in looking at cyclical companies or not, you can either keep them or you can remove them. The last and the final company, the 7th one, is Easy Trip Planners. Now, Easy Trip Planners is a very interesting one. I think I talked about it in one of the last videos as well. I think in the screener video only. And I actually use EMT for booking my flights and everything. And yeah, these guys are doing a good job as far as from a customer perspective. Sales growth, 34%, 30%. So yeah, up and down. March 20, 39%, 21, 1.8%. Pandemic year, 68, 43. Sales increase from 598 to 233 crores. Okay, what is happening here? That doesn't make sense. I don't know why that is the case. Maybe they were just chasing sales at the same. Yeah, you can see. Operating profit margin just 1%, increased 26%, 0, 0, 9, 55, 57. Okay, so again, related to tourism, somewhat cyclical characteristics. Net profit 2 increased from 2 to, again because it's cyclical, 2, 3, 4, 4, 20, and then 0, 24, 35, 60, 107. Total 260, but cash is not there, 215. Red flag. You add that over here. You definitely want to investigate a bit more. Then you say debt to equity debt has increased a little bit. Okay, capex, not a lot of capex required. So you have FCF divided by CFO 95%, which is great. Again, these look pretty good except this year, March 2018. I'm not sure what happened here. ROE looks great. Yeah, this is an asset light business, so ROE is going to be fine. ROC looks pretty good. Net fixed asset turnovers. Yeah. This is 1322. Okay. All right. So dividends, they haven't really paid dividends except in the last 2 years. If you look at retained earnings, is 217 crores and market capitalization has gone up by 8952. Okay. All right. Interesting. So yeah, that's pretty much it, and that's how you can go about analyzing, companies. So this is a list of 174 crores. Now bear in mind, right now you didn't see a lot of companies that were worth eliminating, but even if you can eliminate, you can do this process. Each company takes about 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes at max, and at least in one iteration, if you're very serious about it, maybe you can even reduce this number by making the parameter stringent, get it down to 100, and then eliminate the companies further using this. Now, so you can even further shrink your universe and, have a more manageable number of companies. Now, one pro tip that I learned, even after doing this, when I was going through this phase of learning how to do this, one of the problems I faced was that all of these companies usually are from different industries. So I was always jumping from one industry to another company from another industry. And the problem with that is you don't really build competence, you don't really build a circle of competence, so to speak, right? So one thing you can do is, after you've done this second layer of screening using the export to Excel, you can look at, you can choose companies by their sectors and then analyze all the companies, or at least the top companies who have the maximum market share from particular industries. And this is, again, there was a big aha for me that really changed my trajectory in terms of my investing journey, because then I started to look at specific sectors, and then I started to learn a lot, because I wasn't just looking at one company, I was looking at 10 companies. So if you're still here with us, first of all, thank you so much for watching. This is a relatively longer video, so I appreciate the fact that you're still here. And secondly, please consider subscribing to our channel. Click the bell icon as well so you get notified when we release our next video. And lastly, as I said at the beginning of the video, I'm going to share how you can access this pre-customized template. All you need to do is go to the link in the description, click on the link, enter your name, your email ID, some basic details, and you can simply download the Excel sheet for yourself. So that's all for now. Thank you so much and take care.